Hello everyone. Welcome you to our public speaking class. Okay, today I will share with you some of my opinion about the topics. Um, how to deliver your speech confidently. So as you can see that we have just finished some steps in our public speaking course, and you have just done choosing the general topics as well as narrowing it down into specific topics. And we have done doing some research about our topics and analyzing our ideas as well as brainstorming our ideas and organizing them into a specific systematic way. That is called an outline, right? So after making an outline, what should we do next? So today I will talk about what should we do. So the next step after making an outline is to deliver your speech, to give a presentation. And how can we do that? So let's take a look at some of the tips that we can do. So the first thing that you can do before the presentation is to practice. Yeah, practice, practice, and practice. Try to practice a lot. Practice speaking about as many topics as possible, ranging from environment, technology, travel, culture, education to memory. Any kind of topic is okay. So it's a good opportunity for you to improve your speaking skill in pairs or in groups. You can talk to your partner or you can talk to your group members and ask for their feedback on your pronunciation, on your idea. Is it easy to understand your opinion? Is it easy to listen to your pronunciation, your English, your vocabulary, for example? So they will give us valuable supports and advice, and we can make a very short talks like this one just to gain our confidence about our public speaking skill. So when you have done with small talks, and the next thing that we can do is to practice our speech beforehand because our presentation is a kind of long speech. So we can we can break it down into smaller parts. Like we can practice with the introduction first, um, with the body part, body one, body two, and then we practiced with the conclusion. So you can divide it into some smaller parts and carry out each part until you gain the confidence and the fluency. And when you feel confident enough and fluent enough, so you can practice a long speech. And of course, you can practice alone, or you can practice with your partner or with your group member and ask for their feedback again. And another thing is that you can do before presentation is to have a positive attitude about what you do. Tell yourself, I can do this. It's a kind of very positive attitudes that you can adopt. Um, it sounds like a slogan by a multi-level company. However, it's really work. It's really effective because it will give you a very good starting point to believe in yourself and to believe in what you can do. And next, during a presentation, what should we do? The first and a very simple thing is to smile. Smile before and after speaking. It's very simple to do this, right? Just smile and you can feel more confident. And you can make the audience feel that you are really confident and really friendly to share about your opinion. There is a good first impression on the audience. Another thing is that you can do is to be passionate about what you are talking about. So because the topic is the one that you choose for yourself, so you need to be interested in the topics as well to be really passionate to share about your viewpoint on the topic. So when you are passionate about a topic, you don't need to worry being get stuck, right? And you have a lot to share, and then try to express all of your knowledge, all of your opinions about the topics. Another thing is to face the audience with confidence, even if you are not feeling confident inside. So don't let them know that you're like confident. So just show them that you're really confident. That is the professional way to appear in front of the audience. And in that way, we can persuade them to believe in what we say in our viewpoint, right? And of course, you need to know your audience and speak to their need. You need to analyze the audience and understand their attitudes, their belief, their feeling, and in that way, you can persuade them easily to agree with your viewpoint, right? Try to speak in a way that will resonate with them to persuade them easily. One simple thing that you can do is keep reading. It's help you calm down. It's very simple way. Many students forget to read normally. They just try to make very long statement without reading normally. It will help them. It make them feel tired and they cannot express their opinion in a clear and strong voice. Their voice become quite soft and without energy because they just keep going on with their idea and they forget to read normally. So the things that you can do is just simply read and express your opinion in a natural way and don't worry much about forgetting the idea. It's okay if you forget some of your idea, but you can read and you can express it in a very clear way. It's okay. It's still effective. And don't forget to make eye contact with the audience. When you make eye contact with the audience, it shows that you care for the audience. And it will be a good impression on the audience. It shows that you are really confident and you care for the audience. And in that way, you also get some feedback from the audience, right? Beside the eye contact, we also need to pay attention to the body language in general, the tones, the voice, the hand gesture, for example. Try to speak with clear and strong voice. Some students just focus on the idea and they forget about their voice. They forget to use clear pronunciation and strong voice. Some students use very soft voice, and that's reduced the effectiveness of their presentation, right? Because they just focus on the idea and keep going on talking about the idea, but in a very difficult way to understand. So it will reduce the impact of the presentation. So the body language, as you know, that it play really important role in a presentation. Seem that is seem to be more important even than the idea. So we need to employ that channel very effectively to add to the effectiveness of our presentation, right? So all in all, it's really important things for you to remember to speak from your heart rather than reading off a notes or a script. Because when you prepare a very perfect script or notes and you just read it off from them, this will be so boring. And the audience, they will not want to listen to when you are reading like that. Speaking is different from reading. Sometimes we forget some details or some insights, some example, but it's okay. It's not a big problem. Just try to go on speaking from your heart. Tell them anything that you know about the topic in a passionate way, and it's from the heart. There's a difference between speaking and reading. So to summarize, I just mentioned lots of things for us to do before and during the presentation. So let's summarize them together. Before the presentation, we need to practice a lot. And we need to practice with small talk about the many topics and even practice our long speech before him and ask for the feedback from the friends, from our partners, our group members, for example. And adopt a very positive attitude, like telling yourself, I can do this, to increase your confidence in yourself. During the presentation, try to be passionate about what you're talking about. And just when you're passionate about your topic, then you can share lots of information and lots of your opinion about your viewpoint on the topics. And without worrying, being get stuck, right? And try to face the audience with confidence. Try to appear professionally. And the next thing that you can do is to know your audience and speak to their need. And the simple things that you can do is keep reading, which is really effective. When you express your opinion, this will help you to express your opinion in a clear and natural way. And this adds to the effectiveness of your presentation. Now, one more thing, really simple things that you can do is smile. Remember to smile before and after speaking, and it's help us to create a very good impression about the presentation. And try to make constant eye contact with the audience. Don't ignore any kinds of feedback through the eye contact with the audience. Pay attention to the body language as a whole, including the hand gesture, the tone, the voice, the pronunciation, for example. Try to speak with clear and strong voice rather than just focus on your idea and speak so fast or speak in a very difficult to understand way. And all in all, try to speak from your heart rather than reading off the notes or scripts. Speaking is different from reading. Remember? So don't try to read from the perfect script. It's so boring and it's ineffective. So try to speak from your heart about topics. Okay. Freely share any of your viewpoints and share what you know about the topics from your heart. Here are some criteria for marking. So I've introduced to you already, but now we look at them again. So number one is about the topics. Is it useful, creative, original, pervasive, effective, or not? And you need to modify the topic a little bit. For example, number two is about the idea. Is it specific or not? Do you provide specific evidence, example, explanation or not? Number three is about pronunciation. Try to avoid the common mistake to not to make the audience confused, right? And use effective intonation. Number four is about fluency. Try to increase the fluencies of your presentation. Sometimes you can use some kind of filler, but limit it. Limit the kind of fillers that you use. Don't use them a lot. Number five is about the body languages, the eye contact, the facial expression, the hand gesture. Use them effectively. Don't ignore the body languages because they play a very important role in a presentation. Number six is the use of visual aids, like the images, the graphs, the charts, for example, on the PowerPoint, and the use of notes cards. Number seven is about the references. Do you employ any references for your presentation to increase the reliability of your presentation? Number eight is about the rest code. You need to rest formally and suitably, appropriately, just like when you appear for an interview, for a job interview. Okay? So try to bear in mind these criteria for the criteria for marking may change every year. However, it's still revolving around these very key feature of the presentation. So below, we will take a look at the two presentation given by the two students, Vietnamese student. One is Nguyễn Ngọc Phương Anh from Vin School, and one is Nguyễn Lâm Thảo Tâm. And they make their presentation on the stage of TED Talk, and they perform really, really excellent in their speaking skill, and they appear really confident and share very confidently about their topics. So we will take a look at the two clips, and I hope that you will learn a lot from the two clips here.
Hi, good morning. Gonna try that one more time, okay? Hi, good morning.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tâm Nguyễn Lâm Thảo Tâm, and as of my 20th cycle on Earth, I am currently a freelance actress, MC, and model, and most importantly, a university student. Now, the TEDx FPTU University Ho Chi Minh City stage today is reserved for extraordinary steps, and that is what I believe I'm brought in to tell you about. And on my slide presentation, right here, is a picture of a compass. Now, this is a little device we use to navigate and find our way. But I truly believe that within every single one of us is an inner one of these, a moral compass. And I'm going to tell you a summarized version of how I followed this little device for 20 years, especially through the most extraordinary year that I've had so far, which is my year of being 14. So growing up, I was a very, very curious child. I grabbed every single book I could get and read with this certain passion. And I also saw a lot of foreign television. So, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, all of that. So, in turn, I learned a lot of English, even outside of the school curriculum, without taking extracurricular classes. And that led me to this one event in my life where I was in fifth grade, which means I was 10 years old, and my father, who's in the audience right now, he handed me an examination paper for the graduation exam for high schoolers in the topic of English. And I completed that within 20 minutes. A few weeks later, he returned with another sheet of exam, and it was the D major university entrance exam for those same high schoolers that year. And I completed it within 30 minutes before giving up because it was very hard. But tallying up the scores, I received 8 points and 5 points for each exam designed for 18-year-olds when I was 10 years old. And I would say that those are some satisfying results. And I've also had a really soft spot for the arts growing up, and that is something that grew and grew with me as I became who I am today. And that kind of accumulated in me becoming an MC, model, and actress for the past 4 years now. Most noticeably in the movie Makbi, which premiered last year. Now, all of this might sound really flashy and extraordinary, I would say, but I promise you, there is absolutely no magic behind all of this. Now, I'm going to ask you, do you know how a compass is made? And I'm talking about the most ancient compasses, like the earliest version of it. So, the earliest compasses were made of a sort of case, water, and a magnetized needle. So, the function of it is a magnetized needle will respond to the Earth's magnetic field and always point north, which is that direction. But here's the thing, in earliest versions of it, without water lifting the needle off of the case, the needle will not be able to spin. And here's a fun fact about me. Growing up, I was a notoriously difficult child to raise and teach. I was very hyper, I had a very short attention span, and I was very, very reckless. All traits of which would lead to a lot of trouble. But it was exactly the environment that raised me that allowed me to become the best version of myself. They were the water to my needle. And what is this environment? What is this water? Well, actually, it's my family and my parents sitting right there. So when I was growing up, they did their very, very best to cultivate the environment around me to help it foster my growth. They made reading fun, they made me excited about books, they took me to see shows like Ngày xưa, musical plays that inspired my love for language and arts up until this very day. And it is with their love and care that let me be a happy child, even despite my shortcomings. And that's what eventually allowed me to achieve all of the amazing things that I did. I was the best version of myself. And some of my achievements were proof of that. But here's the thing, that is not always the case. Environments can change way more drastically and way more severely than a person ever can. And that is a reality that I came face to face with when I had to leave the security of my parents' embrace and enter into middle school. Out of the 20 years that I have spent being alive on this earth, the 4 years that I was in middle school was the absolute hardest.
You can see that she can keep her speech really, really. fluent um, in a very confident way. That is caught up speaking as not reading at all because she does not trick from any notes or any script to just keep talking based on her passions about what she's sharing, right? Hope that you can learn a lot from her presentation. And another presentation is by Phương Anh. Let's go and take a look at the presentation.
Are you tired of the same old routines?
If I tell you right now that reading is good, as you probably have heard from years of growing up, from your parents or your teachers, will you agree with me? Most likely, right? So most of us know that reading is good for us. So why is it that we aren't always carrying around a book with us like we would to something that's supposed to be good for us? Well, I'm really not here to criticize you for not doing so. I myself think that not everybody has to do that to prove your love for reading. Let me tell you about my experience with reading. Growing up, I've always loved it. I used to read magazines, fairy tales, comic books back when I was a kid. Back in secondary school, I would read novels and science books. Then came the peak of my so called reading career in grade 7, where I was doubling up the quantity of books I was reading. And at the same time, I became extremely selective with what I read. Actually, to tell you the truth, being selective with what I read is just a fancy way to cover up the real thing that happened back then, which was me wasting a lot of time questioning whether I should pick up a book. Let me just describe to you exactly what was happening back then. I stood in front of a stack of books like this, and I would think, well, if I read this book, is that going to help me solve my homework? No, then I'm not going to read it. And I call that being selective because I thought that was good. But eventually, I realized that I was not being productive at all. And I started asking myself why. Because I was doing something that was supposed to be good, which was being selective. But then I ended up wasting time instead of actually getting any reading done. So after years of observing and, reflecting on what I did back then, I have come to notice something in teenagers that I would like to call the skepticism in the power of reading. So, what is skepticism in the power of reading to me? I would like to define my definition of skepticism in reading as having doubts in the process of reading or thinking of reading as a means to solve an immediate problem. So, for this type of skepticism of reading or over practical approach to reading, I classify these people into two types. The first type are the people who never really give reading a chance because they cannot possibly think of how reading can help them in any way. The second type of people are those who have actually had fierce beliefs in the power of books, but after not seeing themselves getting instant results, they give up and their belief is shattered into strong disbelief. For both of these types, there are some mindset shifts that they're going to have to make in order to break free from these limiting beliefs about books. Now, let us get started with the first type, the overpractical. These people are those who spend time sitting to convince themselves that reading cannot possibly help them get better in any way. They cannot see how reading this book is going to make their lives immediately better. For example, if I'm having this really difficult math homework and reading this book is not going to help, then I'm not going to do it. That is the mindset of people in type 1. Now, if you ask these people if they think reading is good, they're really likely to say yes, they do think that reading is good. But easier said than done, they only look at the short term benefits of reading, which is how it's going to benefit them today, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, to which they do not see any possibility of what they read changing anything. Don't get me wrong though, these people are not lazy. In fact, on the bright side, they may be someone who's extremely results oriented and particular with what they spend their time on. However, as they think of reading as a means to solve an immediate problem or simply consider it as temporary motivation, they start questioning the process of reading if it doesn't actually help them, for example, to solve their homework. I have been in this position, to be honest with you. And while you may think that, well, why is it so hard to convince these people to maybe just give reading a chance? It's really not that easy. Let me just play it out how a conversation with this type of person would go. You would tell them, why is it so hard just to try reading and see if it works for you? Them, with their super logic, would say, would you study literature to get better at math? Obviously, you're not going to study literature to get better at math, right? And that is their logic. If it doesn't help me solve my homework, if it doesn't help me get better at school immediately, why should I waste hours on it? So now moving on to the next type, which is the disbelievers. These people are interesting as in they used to have strong beliefs in books. They used to be the ones like me standing here right now telling you that reading is good. But the thing is, after reading several times and not seeing themselves turning into geniuses overnight, they give up. They lose the motivation. So for this type of people, the problem really isn't with their expectations for results. Because as leaders, we should always expect an outcome to come out of everything that we do. The problem is with their degree of expectations that they set for their results. When you read something and you expect results to come overnight, in reality it doesn't turn out that way. It can be extremely discouraging and even frustrating. So therefore, no matter how strong your initial belief in books were, you eventually just stop believing in them, and then you refuse to buy what you consider a package of waste of time and energy, along with a complimentary gift of disappointment ever again. And that's how we arrive at the second type of people. Now, for both types, there are some realizations that they are going to have to make in order to break themselves free from these limiting beliefs. The problem with type 1 is that they limit themselves to only what they think can happen. For example, if I'm reading this book, I need to know exactly how it's going to benefit me, and I need to see that scenario. But really, among the many things that we can predict, what happens to us, failures, and especially opportunities, is not one of them. You should not be overly worried about how what you read today will benefit you tomorrow, and be overly attached to how exactly that will play out, because we don't know. I know that right now you have the energy, the time, the curiosity to learn. I don't know if that also holds true for the future. Back when I was having this problem as well, there was this story that really inspired me to maybe step out of my comfort zone to test this theory out. It's a story about Steve Jobs I came across. So we know who Steve Jobs is, right? Hello, iPhone users. He is the CEO and founder of Apple.
Learning something is never easy. It just takes
Okay, so you see presentation. Um, she can persuade the audience very, very effectively with her very impressive voice and pronunciation. So I hope that you can learn a lot from her presentation and try to practice with your own presentation. And good luck with your public speaking test and your final test. And goodbye for now, and see you later. And I hope you enjoy your that holiday. And uh, goodbye. See you later.